guys, I'm Zach Craig with Armor Tech. Welcome back for another one of our installation videos. Today we're going to be showing you how to put on a set of doors for your Honda Pioneer 1000. Before we get too far into the installation, let's go over a couple tools that's needed for the job. A 3/4 inch regular wrench, 11/16 wrench, 7/16 wrench, now 17 millimeter, a 10 millimeter regular wrench. You'll also need a 10 millimeter socket, a 14 millimeter socket, a 17 millimeter socket, and a 19. And of course, with a 3/8 ratchet driver, Phillips screwdriver, a P3 Phillips screwdriver to keep preventing stripping on our bolt heads, or you can install a P3 bit and an impact drill to speed things up. We'll first start off with our 10 millimeter socket to take off our stock plastic door. There's 4 bolts that hold this on. It's already got well nuts in the plastic, and we'll just loosen these and take these all out. To keep up with these bolts, we got some plates in our hardware bag that will mount right here to make this a smooth, fine line for our door to seal against. We'll now find our 2 sill plates. Now notice that the bottom of the plate is a little longer than the top piece. The wide part has to go towards the bottom and fit in just like that right there. So go ahead and install our bolts again. Go ahead and tighten those down a little bit and leave a little gap, and we're just going to simply slide this in. Once we get those set where we need to, we'll now have to take a regular open end 10 millimeter wrench to get in behind the 45 angle so we can tighten those things up. Okay. Back to our 10 millimeter socket, we'll now go into your box, your hardware package, and find a Z bracket right in the curve of the roll bar. This little bolt that used to hold our safety nets on, we'll now take that bolt out, replace it with our Z bracket. We'll now switch over to our 14 millimeter socket and our 17 millimeter wrench. We'll go ahead and loosen this frame. We got a bracket that's going to slide in between the slot of the frame. Again, in your hardware package, there's another Z bracket. We'll have 2 slots in the end with 2 holes in the end. We'll now take our slots, turn our holes towards the outside of the bike, and those slots will slide in between the 2 bolts, in between the slot of our frame. Now, you're going to have to slightly pull that frame apart. And it may take some time to wiggle it in there. There we go. We'll go ahead and tighten that back down. We'll now go ahead and take our jam out of the box. We'll mount it now. We'll start with our Z bracket on the curve of the top right hand side of the roll bar. And we'll go through this hole slightly with our 1-inch bolt. Go ahead and mount that up. We'll now take our lock washer and go ahead and nut the back side. Now go back to our 5/8 bolts. We'll try to line this up about that same seam following the bar down. We should line up real close to the bracket on the inside that's sandwiched in between the inner frame. Now dig through your box, look in your hardware, and find a C bracket. It's got 2 holes in the big 1.5 inch end and 1 hole in the 1 inch end. Now we're going to uninstall our factory striker. Our C bracket will set inside of the jamb with both of the 90-degree bends going towards the front. Go ahead and lay that in. We'll now take our factory bolts that held on our striker and go ahead and get both of those positioned. Put the striker back on. It will serve as a doubler plate. Go ahead and get both of those started. Leave the bracket loose. We got adjustments up and down so we can hit our hole underneath the hinge. Come in with our 5/8 bolt, a flat washer. We'll come to the outside. And we'll stick a lock washer and a nut to fasten. Now take our 7/16 wrench and our Phillips screwdriver. Go ahead and tighten this down. The last and final bracket for the jamb will be a J bracket. I have one hole here that will mount there. This is going to kind of sandwich the bar and the jamb together. We'll loop around the bar, stick our bolt through, and again a lock washer and a nut to tighten it down. We'll now come with our 7/16 wrench and our impact wrench to tighten all of this stuff down. Dig through our hardware and find our hinges. We'll keep the female part of our hinge. We'll go ahead and mount both of those to our jambs. We'll note that the barrel of our female needs to go downwards towards the ground. Take some of our 5/8 bolts. We'll go ahead and get these started. Then we'll do a lock washer and a nut for the back side. For future adjustment and latching, these holes, as you can see down here, are slotted to allow for adjustment up and down. Now the male end of our hinge will mount to our door with the prong facing downwards towards the ground. And just like the jamb, we'll go ahead and fasten this with a 5/8 bolt, lock, washer, and a nut. Now note that this has horizontal slotted holes for future latching and adjustments you'll need later on. Now this door will hang similar to a Jeep. Two prongs will just simply fall down into the barrels of the hinges on the jamb. Pick it up, come out to about 90 degrees to the bike, and we'll have to kind of work with it to get both of them to line up. Then it should fall right in. Then we'll go ahead and install our door handle. In your nut and bolt hardware package, you have two size 6mm bolts. One of them will be long, one of them will be short. For this particular bike, we're going to use the long one. You'll notice that full extension may come up just a little bit short. What we're going to do is take the jamb nut, it's already on there, and we'll put this bolt in here to extend that length where we don't have to push our buttons so far down to get the latch to pop open. Now that that's all set, we'll take our 10mm wrench and tighten the jamb nut down. Now that our handle is adjusted, we're looking at another section of our hardware bag. We've got another 6mm size bolt. It's actually in between the short and the long one with this size. And this will be to actually mount the handle to the door. Put a flat washer on the inside of the door. The bolt's coming out. Those will mount into the gold threaded holes of the handle. Go ahead and tighten those down. Now take our 17mm wrench, our 19mm socket. We're going to take these bolts out of our frame here and replace them with some bolts that we see in our hardware package. We're going to want to leave the bottom one tight and go ahead and take the top bolt all the way out. Hang on to the factory nut. Take that bolt out. We'll find our flanged head 12mm bolt in our hardware package. And we'll go ahead and replace that bolt. We'll go one flat washer and then our flanged head nut. I now need to switch over to a 17mm socket. Go ahead and tighten that down. And now we'll switch back and take that bottom one. Now that we got those bolts installed, we'll now take one flat washer on both bolts to shim that all flat plane. Now we'll take our striker plate with this going to the outside of the 90-degree bend going outwards. We'll slide that on. Now, earlier I told you to hang on to the factory nuts, and we'll now cap that with the factory nut. We'll go ahead and just lightly snug those down so we can still adjust this up and down for proper latching. Now dig through our hardware and find our striker bolt that mounts to our striker plate. I'll undo that. You've got several washers here for shimming. So I'm going to take one of these off. Go ahead and put a washer on the back side. You can put these washers to shim this in or out anymore. You also got adjustment in the plate up and down, and you got adjustment side to side in the bolt itself. I'm going to start about center. You'll need a 3/4 and an 11/16 wrench to tighten this down. Our door is hitting slightly lower than our striker bolt, so we're going to shim the door up a little bit. And you can also see that a good start is this body line of the jamb needs to carry the same body line of the door. So we're going to do some adjusting on this to get this to fit right. After we got everything latching correctly, we'll now want to put our bedline plate. It's just a plate cover that fills this void. There's a little crack so where we have a nice smooth place for our trim to land on. We'll find our thread cutter bolt. It's the shortest bolt. It still has the P3 head, but it's got little grooves in here that'll cut these threads. It'll be real short. Go ahead, we'll take our Phillips screwdriver and get these started. After some fine-tuning adjustments, our door latches properly. It's now finished and you can enjoy it on your next ride.